Lottie Moon laughed to herself as she stripped her bed, rolled the sheets, and tucked them under her arm. Her roommate, Carrie Ann, was sound asleep and never moved as Lottie felt her way out of the dark room. Only a bit of daylight was showing in the sky. Lottie Moon was 14 years old and tiny, only 4 feet 3 inches tall. But she knew how to think big. Today was April Fool's Day, and she was planning a trick that would amaze her entire school. Lottie had been at Holland's Institute, a boarding school where girls lived and studied ever since her father died. She didn't have a moment's freedom there. A bell rang for meals, for classes, and twice a day for chapel services, which Lottie hated. The first bell rang at 6 in the morning. Well, not today, Lottie thought. She lifted a key from a nail by the attic door and unlocked it. She climbed 2 ladders to the tower where the huge bell hung. There, Lottie tied her sheets around the clapper of the bell. Then she backed down the ladders and returned to her room. Lottie giggled and waited for 6 a.m. No bell. It was 7 a.m. before the bell finally clanged. "We're all an hour late," she said happily to Carrie Ann. Meals and classes were all mixed up that day, and chapel was canceled. Lottie returned to her room to change her clothes for a late dinner that evening. Carrie Ann was waiting for her. "The principal knew it was you," she said. "Everybody thought of you first thing, and you're the only one without sheets on your bed." "It was worth it to get out of chapel meeting," Lottie replied. "I'm bored with church, and I'm not the least bit interested in being a Christian who believes in Jesus." After Lottie graduated from Holland's Institute, she spent some time at her home near Charlottesville, Virginia. In September, she went on to another girls' school to get more education. She loved to read and study. Her grades were great, and she already knew 4 foreign languages. Lottie continued to play practical jokes at her new school and even made fun of the pastor of the church across the road. One Sunday, she went to church just to listen for something to make fun of. But she was surprised that the sermon was interesting. And it made sense. All that night, she thought about the things she had heard. Lottie was wealthy and educated. Did she really need God? Did she need to turn to Him? Suddenly, she wanted to do just that. The next morning, Lottie got up early and went to a sunrise prayer meeting some of the students attended. She didn't know they were praying for her. "Oh," gasped one girl when she arrived. "Why, here's Lottie Moon in person. We were praying for you, Lottie, but we never dreamed you'd walk right in." For once, Lottie didn't answer with a smart remark. She sat quietly and listened. Then she went to the evening church service. When the pastor invited people to receive Jesus, Lottie went forward and knelt to pray. She told God that she had sinned. She told Him she believed Jesus died for her sins and rose again. She asked Jesus to be her Savior. God forgave her, and she became a brand new person inside. After Lottie received Jesus as her Savior, God changed her in many ways. She still had a bold personality and was still one of the smartest, most educated young ladies in her part of the country. But she no longer lived for herself. She didn't play practical jokes. Her voice became gentle, and she was kind to others. She began thinking about what God wanted her to do, rather than what she wanted to do. Little did she know what big plans God had for her. One evening, Lottie went to a meeting where the pastor begged for people to go as missionaries to other countries. He quoted Matthew 9:37 through 38. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." "Lord, please send workers," Lottie prayed silently. "You go." Lottie opened her eyes and looked around to see who had spoken. Or had the words come silently to her heart? "Me, Lord?" she prayed. China seemed to ring in her ears. God had plans for Lottie. She wasn't perfect, but God could change her into the kind of person He needed her to be. He could help her become more and more like Jesus and could give her strength to do anything He asked. Lottie prayed all afternoon and later told her family, "My call from God to go to the mission field was as clear as the ringing of a bell.